Good morning, everybody. I'm back, and it's time for another vlog. And today, I am actually going somewhere for once, and that is to Canada Blooms. Now, if you guys don't know what Canada Blooms is, it is the biggest gardening show across North America. And now, unfortunately, due to budget cuts and everything, it used to be a whole show, but now it's just half of a show. And it's split down with the home show. So, not much you can do about that. So, I'm on my way. I'm on the subway right now. So hopefully we'll get there soon. I still have to take a streetcar to get there. And after that, head down to the exhibition grounds from there. So, we'll see you guys in a bit. Okay everyone, welcome to Canada Blooms and the Home Show. I'll be showing you guys a little bit about I'll be showing you bits, seeds, and a few things here and there, and maybe some marketplace. It's gonna be, looks like today's gonna be a great day. Ooh, look at these plants. Orchids are so pretty. Wow. It's two colors. Wow, this is beautiful. Oh, we'll take a look to see what else there is. Okay, they've done the same thing this year as last year. You've got the home show in the front bit. Try to go nice and slow for you guys. This is all the home show right in this half. And then in the back is Canada Blooms. You can see they got kind of like a row carpet right here. Oh, yeah. That nice patio stuff right there. Stuff from Niagara Falls. We got some nice beautiful orchids right over here. fake, but still, they're still very beautiful. Look at them, you guys. Absolutely gorgeous. One Shannon Blues being this year. No, here's Pick Ontario.
Yeah, that one's called a Medinilla. They're originally from the Philippines. And they're a little different because they hang down, so they're a cascading flower. So a lot of people, they come by and tell me I got to water my flowers, you know. But they're a little different. The best thing about these is that this big pink bloom here has been open for 4 months and 1 week already. So on average in Ontario, the flowers last between 4 to 7 months. They guarantee a minimum of 3 months on the big pink blooms here. And this is the one that Martha Stewart decorated her set and said you have to chop it down with an axe to kill the thing because they're really easy to grow. So they're recommended if you have somebody that's maybe not good at keeping up a watering schedule and stuff. The main reason is, although they look really big and they're quite a lush looking plant, they're very similar to what an orchid is. If any of you have tried growing an orchid, you'll notice right away that there's no soil in the pot. They grow in peat moss. So peat moss is almost like a sponge, and the one thing you got to remember, the only trick to these, is that you never ever pour water into the top of them. Okay.
Oh.
Now these are sold right now at every Metro grocery store in town, and I know there's been some people come up to the booth that brought one home and watered it like a regular flower, and they don't last so well if you do that. What'll happen is if you pour water from the top, the leaf tips start to go brown, and that's because the water just goes straight to the bottom and makes a puddle. So you got to make sure you put a little bit of water in your sink. You set your Medinilla right in the sink for 2 or 3 minutes, and then drain it out really good before you put it back on the shelf. The nice thing about them though is they only like to be watered about every 2 weeks. So you have to water them twice a month kind of thing, right? So really, really simple. Now, every time a Medinilla blooms, they produce twice as many flowers. So the first time when you take it home, it'll have 2 flowers on it. The next time it blooms, it'll have 4. And then the third time it blooms, they're gonna look a bit like this here. This plant's 2 years old now and it's flowering for its 3rd time, okay? So if you don't want it to get that large, all right, some people say, what would I do with that thing in the middle of my dining room table? It's 3 feet tall. Basically, you can keep them trimmed back to whatever size you'd like. Mine at home actually is more like this, and we've got ours on a hook because we take it out and we hang it right up in our middle of our gazebo for the summertime. They love the heat and the humidity in Ontario for the summer, as long as you keep them under a shaded area. Okay, so a 3-season room, something like that, they do very well. Okay, now as far as fertilizer, they don't like fertilizer, so you don't have to be constantly feeding this or anything. So they really are a pretty simple plant to look after, okay? Now, when the flower starts to brown, what's gonna happen, like I said, this has been open just over 4 months now. The last phase of the bloom is every one of these little pink things pops open into a little purple flower, okay? And then they stay for about a week like that, and then they start to brown up. They won't look so nice. So when it starts to brown and you want to get rid of the flower, you don't take the flower off down here. You go right back up to the fly leaves and you break the whole stem off, okay? And your new ones will bloom from that same spot. All right, but really a neat flower. They're originally from the Philippines, and basically if you go to the Philippines, you got to look about 50 feet up into the trees because they grow off the moss on the side of the trees in the rainforest over there. Now, what the nice thing about them is, though, is that they thrive between 14 degrees and 29 to 30 degrees, which is, most people in Ontario, we keep our houses at that temperature all year round. Now, the good thing too is they're not really that fussy about their light condition as they are about their temperature. So you can put that anywhere in any room of the house, as long as there's a window somewhere in the room and it gets a light wash of sunlight every day, then they're quite happy, okay? And that's called a Medinilla. The Medinillas are just down on the second booth over here, and they're the same ones that are 29 over at Metro, and we've got them on the Pick Ontario booth for 20, tax included. So, and they're really nice plant for inside the house, so very, very nice. We also have the hellebores. These, we get asked about these purple flowers. These are for outside, and if you're looking for something to put in your garden outside, these are a perennial, so they come back every single year. And I have quite a few of these up at my cottage because deer and rabbits and stuff do not eat hellebores, which is nice. This plant, when you put it in the ground in the spring, by the end of the year, they end up about 3 feet around. So, and you can take and run a shovel down through and separate them around the property too at that point. And these are okay in everything from a part sun, part shade application, right to full shade. You can put these right under the tree lines and stuff like that as well. Okay. Now I'm in St. Catharines, which is just down the QEW here, and I've had these flowering in my garden for over 2 weeks already. If you're from England or you know somebody from Europe, over there they call this the Christmas rose or the Lenten rose, because these pop out of the ground as soon as the temperature gets to 0 degrees and they start flowering. So it's kind of neat, and it's called a hellebore. All right, now they've got these right now for $20 down on the right hand side of the booth, and they're in a couple different colors, and that again is a perennial for outside in the garden that'll come back every single year. So they're called hellebores. Really, really nice. Now if you go down over here on the left side, we've got a full display of orchids as well. We get a lot of questions about orchids, and I think the main thing we get asked is how do I get the flowers to come back on my darn orchids, because a lot of people will take an orchid home and have no trouble keeping them alive for a while. It's when you want to get flowers to come back on them that's really difficult. Okay, so also I get asked about these little things an awful lot, the little roots hanging over the side. Now, with orchids, the couple things that you need to know with an orchid is how to water them properly. Watering them properly is very simple. You never ever pour water into the top of an orchid. Same like we were talking about kind of with our Metanillas there, is you want to put a pot of water with a little bit and get it to room temperature, let it sit for an hour or so, and then basically set your whole orchid inside the water. And then when you lift it up, you got to make sure you drain all the extra water out of the bottom of it. Okay, the reason for that is when you put it back on here, you got to make sure you don't have a puddle of water down into their pot. Okay, because if they sit in a puddle of water, they'll actually get rotten. Roots get rotten. So you got to make sure you drain them really well. I actually nowadays, after I water them and I put them in here, I usually go back 5 minutes later and I'll actually make sure I dump any excess water out. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is trimming them properly after the flowers die off. If you want to get your blooms to come back quicker, it's very simple. If you look here on this one, you'll see the stem, and you go up your stem and you find the very first one that's produced flowers for you. So this one here, you'll notice, is right here. So I would cut it on an angle above that stem. All right, so you find the first stem with flowers, always cut it on an angle above the stem that gave you the flowers, okay? And then you'll get some new growth from that area. All right, and the last thing is these little guys. A lot of people ask me about the little roots hanging out over the side of their orchids. If you like the looks of them, you can leave them. They're not doing any harm there, but they're not necessary. So if you don't like the looks of them, you can cut them off. All right, but what these things are doing is they're telling you that this is getting large enough that it maybe is ready to go into a bigger pot. Okay, so you can take and replant your orchid. Very important when you're repotting your orchids and that you don't put them in soil. Okay, make sure that you find either the wood chips or birch bark, formica, something like that, because orchids need lots of oxygen down to their roots, so you don't want to put them in soil. Okay, but they have a full thing of orchids there. The smaller ones here with the nice vase, I think they have hope and peace and love and faith or something like that. They're 14, tax included. They've got the large ones are 24, and then they've even got the little gift sets here that have the water feed gels in them, and those normally sell for $30-something downtown. They've got them on the booth for $17.50, so that's a good deal on those ones too. And they come in every color you can think of, orchids, so it's kind of personal preference and what you're looking for color-wise, and they have a whole different thing there. Now we also have these